in terms of farewells, Gareth Jones from Colney's Deaneries resigned from Synod. Chris Norburn from Hoxton and Hoddesmere has retired. Kath Palmer from Mildenhall has resigned from Synod. Penny Thompson from Sanford has resigned. Morag Finch from Saxmundham has retired. Katrina Dykes from Woodbridge has moved to Barton Wells, am I right? And Max Osborne is in the process of moving to the Diocese of Ely. In terms of welcomes, I wanted to start by welcoming Alan, our maestro, who is recovering from a broken limb, and you'll see him on crutches. But it's lovely, Alan, to have you with us, and you are being very valiant in your determination to turn up. We also welcome Tracy James from Gipping Valley, Sarah Jenkins from Gipping Valley, Jane Jones from Sanford, Sally Letman from Sanford, and Mary Brown from Saxmundham. And there are 3 staff members to welcome. I'm using welcome in a very sort of generic sense, because they may not actually be here, which is also true of the people I've just welcomed. Sharon Coburn is our new Director of Mission Ministry, who's been working for 2 weeks? 1 week, and therefore has gone on holiday. So we welcome her and thank her for her wisdom. We welcome Philip Codling, who's the new Finance Director taking over from Gary, who obviously is Diocesan Secretary, so that vacated that role. Is Philip here? Philip, right at the back there, welcome. And we welcome Tim Holder, who's our new Director of Engagement. And I want to say a little bit about that, because people are saying, oh, well, this is a new job. It's not a new post. Think Gavin Stone, all right? And what has happened is that, I mean, don't entirely think Gavin Stone. There are differences. But it's Gavin's role, which then, over the last few years, we have exercised through various other individuals, through various other means. And finally, and we'd attempted to do this when Anna was Diocesan Secretary, then obviously her successor, we were talking about it, and then obviously that didn't happen. But finally, now Gary's settled, we were able to get the post properly filled. And I was thinking we should be calling it Director of Joining Up, because what Tim's role is to join up what's going on both between the diocesan office and the parishes, and join up what's going on across parishes so that we can learn and support one another. And it's also raising up, joining up and raising up, the 2 phrases I've got here. Raising up, because it's raising up the stories of what we're doing so that the wider community is aware of the Church's role in this county. And I'm absolutely thrilled because Tim brings to this role a huge amount of passion and experience through his work, particularly in the Community Foundation, where many of us will have encountered him previously. So welcome to Tim, welcome to Philip, and welcome to Sharon, and we look forward to Sharon being at the next Synod. So, think about how you started out in the journey of faith. And I want you to put your hands up if you can trace your engagement with church and faith back to your, very specifically, back to your college or university years between the ages of 18 and 21. Is anybody particularly...
Further back.
No, I don't want to go further back. You be patient, Andrew. Goodness me, there's always one. It's always you. So put them up again. 18 to 21. Okay, good. Put your hands down. Thanks. Now hands up if you can trace your engagement in church and faith back to your teenage years. So when you were secondary school. Teenage years. Okay, thank you. Now, if you can trace your engagement in church and faith back to your primary school years, so 4 to 5 to 10 to 11. Okay, thank you. Now, if you can trace your engagement back to preschool, to the first 3 or 4 years of life. Okay. Now, everybody who's put their hands up, put your hands up again. So we've got everybody's hand who had their hands up. All right, so we get the picture, all right? Now put your hands down. Those who haven't put their hands up, put your hands up. Okay, so you get the picture, all right? What do we notice? So research, and I'm sure there's been some more subsequent research than this, but research in 2017 suggested that 40% of practicing UK Christians came to faith by the age of 5. Now, interestingly, our percentage was smaller than that, wasn't it? It was quite interesting. 16% came to faith by the age of 10, and 19% between 11 and 18. So 3/4 of those in our churches today came to faith as a child or a young person, and that's roughly what we showed then. So let me just drill down a little bit more. When you think about how you set out on this journey, or was set out on this journey, for how many of you was the key thing, the absolutely key thing, your Sunday school or RE at school or something like that, some sort of course like that? For how many of you was that absolutely the key thing? Interesting. Okay. How many of you was the key thing, not a thing, but a person? So a parent or a grandparent or a teacher at school or the vicar or the youth worker. How many of you was that the case? Yeah. Okay. Now, that may have been a bit of a crude set of distinctions, but you can see the point. Most of us begin our journey of faith as youngsters, and what has really made the difference to our starting out on the road of faith has been people, a person or a few people like us. So let me ask another question. As well as the journey of faith, what about the whole process of growing up? For whom of us was there one or two or maybe a few key adults in our lives who made a real difference to us? Adults other than our parents, maybe the vicar, a teacher at school, youth group leader, our best friends' parents, a young adult who we got to know, scout leader, someone whom we felt was important to us and helped us, even just by being there, helped us in our growing up. Who can identify someone or ones who were kind of key non-parents who helped us in that growing up process? I'm going to put my hand up. Yeah. So people are really important. Coming to faith, growing in faith, and simply growing up. Relationships with adults are really important. People matter for young people today just the same as they have done for us, for faith and for growing up. And crucially, I imagine, what we most remember when we were growing up is that there were these key adults who simply were there for us, who listened to us and believed in us. Be with, listen to, believe in. And we're called to be such people for young people today. It's about relationships. And that's true if we're accompanying youngsters on a journey of faith, or if we're accompanying them on the journey of growing up in this complicated world. Be with, listen to, believe in. My suspicion is that for many adult Christians today, while we can remember key people in our own lives, both for faith and for growing up, we now find that the gap between us and youngsters today, certainly after primary school age, seems to have become just so big that we're not sure how to bridge that gap, how to make contact. And then the whole safeguarding situation has made that feel just so complicated. Just to say that if we do the training, if we understand the issues and our responsibility, the procedures are in place, then that is absolutely manageable. We need to stay alert, of course, but the safeguarding challenges do not stop us being engaged. Yet the experience of young people today is much more complicated than it was when most of us were growing up. If I cast my mind back 60 years and think about what life was like then. 60 years? Yeah, 60 years. I can't quite get to 70. But the day will come, I hope. Cast my mind back 60 years. The whole world just seemed a lot simpler. We didn't have social media. We didn't have the whole drugs issues. We didn't have the profound anxieties that are generating all sorts of challenges around mental health for young people. So as church people, we do have a role, and we can play a role in our young people's lives, not just introducing them to the Christian faith, but to help them in the process of growing up, of learning to be with who they are in a complicated and stressful world. Be with, listen to, believe in. For the past 5 years, I think it's longer than 5, probably 7 years, I've had the privilege of convening a group in Suffolk of county leaders who are engaged in supporting young people one way or another, ranging from Community Foundation, the police, Suffolk County Council, the Community Matters, Community Action Suffolk, Ipswich Social Mobility Alliance, Department of Work and Pensions, Suffolk Lieutenancy, and so on. So a range of people. We meet in order to stay in touch. We meet about every 2 months to stay joined up so that more work supporting young people in our county is actually connected and we can try to spot the gaps. Now, when we started out, we commissioned some research, some of you will remember this, some research to listen to young people in Suffolk. A couple of key points came out of this for me. First, that young people want to be involved. They want to be involved in decision making around processes and issues that affect them. That means at the simplest level, it's not up to us to decide what would be good for them. It's up to us to listen to young people and work with them to design programs, projects, events and so forth with them. Secondly, what they really wanted then and want still are safe places to meet each other. Places they've had a hand in designing in some way or other or choosing, where there are adults in the background ready to give support and advice and ensuring the youngsters' safety. Not elaborate, expensive programs. Safe spaces to be with, to listen to believe in. Now those two key findings have over the years, and including through the pandemic, stayed with me. The second one we've made a great deal of progress in, creating safe spaces, including in our churches. The first one, others have made progress in, but I think we have quite a distance to go in our diocese. The young people's cry, not about us, without us, rings in my ears. Where do we really listen to young people? Just look around this room. I was ecstatic that we managed to have 2 teenagers involved in the interviews for the new Director of Mission and Ministry, which was the appointment of Sharon. But that is unusual. And we certainly are not good at including youngsters in our governance and in our planning. We talk about wanting to have more kids in church, and then we don't invite them to be part of the process. We're having a synod engaging with young people without a young person in sight. So this is an area I do hope we can work on. And when we look at this in our groups in a moment, I hope we can ask, how do we listen to young people? How can the church support young people to better understand the world around them and understand the power of their own voice? I'm encouraged by examples of churches in Suffolk creating safe spaces for youngsters, and they're not organising some elaborate programme for them, but listening to them, sitting with their questions, and especially having the confidence not to feel you've got to come up with an answer. Be with, listen to, believe in. Shortly, we'll be hearing from 3 people from around the diocese who are running projects reaching out to children and young people in their communities. They have listened to young people, and they will continue to listen to youngsters in these projects. Otherwise, they won't work. Chris Davey from Framlingham we'll hear from, talking about his Sing Praise initiative. Pam Tonks from Long Melford will be talking about the variety of ministries they're offering there. And James Beckett from Red Lodge will be talking about his work with young people. There are other projects in the pipeline for our diocese, including a new music ministry and mission initiative, which I'm delighted is being planned, and Chris Daly's work in Framlingham is a taste of this. The project will use musical opportunities to bring young people together, recognising that for many, including many of us, the taste of faith came through music, and particularly through singing. That's also why choirs are so important. And some of the most significant young people's work in this diocese happens through robed church choirs. There are national programmes that we're part of too here. Growing Faith is a national church movement that exists to put children, young people, families instinctively at the heart of all the mission and ministry of the church by shifting the culture of the Church of England. It comes from the vision set by the House of Bishops, endorsed by General Synod in 2019. Involves joining up churches, schools and households, working together to help children and young people and families experience life in its fullness. I'm delighted that here, mission and ministry and education, both departments, are working together closely on this. And we'd love every child and young person living in our diocese to have the opportunity not just to hear about faith through their local church or school, but to get to know people of faith who will pay attention to them, who will listen to them. And I know this is going on in many places across Suffolk, and I want to encourage all who are contributing to this work. There's another national programme called Flourish, which is a national funding stream to support schools becoming or creating worshipping communities. It's in the pilot stage, it's a process of submitting bids. Each diocese is encouraged to submit up to 5. We're working through that process. But it's a good sign in the right direction. So we may be those called to be alongside youngsters of whatever age to accompany them on the journey of faith. We may be those called to accompany them on the journey of growing up, or both. And whatever it is, whether that's a couple of us looking out for the kids in our village, or whether it's a group working on a particular project with youngsters, let's have the confidence and the trust to let the children and the young people guide us, paying attention to them, learning from them, and quietly sharing our wisdom and experience of life and of God. Let what helped many of us guide us. Be with, listen to, believe in. Thank you.